Hi and welcome to My Wildlife Year 2022 Week 1, and this week's video is actually a look back at 2021 and what I got up to during that year. Enjoy!
Happy New Year and welcome to 2021, My Wildlife Year. When I've been in here videoing this week, I forgot to say something, and there was a comment that a couple of members of my family, thanks guys, made about last week's video, in my introductory video, is that this thing here is not a toilet, right? They said, it looks as if you've got a toilet sitting behind you. It's not, it's a moth trap.
I don't know whether you can see, there's a white bird flying down the other side. I am so excited. It was a white egret. I've never seen one before. I am so happy. I'm really just sort of disappointed I never get a decent photo of it, but yes!
Dexter and I are down in the small mammal traps in the kitchen, and the big one that I recommended for in the house in Mammal Review has something in it, but it's not a mouse. It's not a wood mouse. I'll show you what it is. Right. Now, is it going to come out? There it is. Can you see it? It's a bangful. So, you don't always get mice coming into your house. Sometimes you get little voles. Now, I love voles, they are so cute. So, when I release it, I'll give you a closer look at it.
So here we have the little bank vole. It's an immature female, quite young. So bank voles are a lot more photogenic, or voles in general are a lot more photogenic than mice. You can see that the ears are flatter to the head, that little eye as I said, and that really quite short tail. So just going to take this one and release it. I'm going to be a bit soft and not take it far to release. I'll just release it close by.
Right, I'm just going to release it just next to my workshop, so that it's actually, because it's been inside, it can maybe shelter in the workshop if it needs to, but also nice big hedgerow here that it can shelter in. So there it goes. Hi Ash, so do you want to just do a wee bit of an introduction to yourself?
So I'm Ashley, or Ash, and I'm a curator at National Museum of Scotland, and I'm an entomologist. So as through my work, I manage an insect collection, but insects flow throughout my spare time as well. So an entomologist never really stops looking at insects. So I entomologize for work, but also in my spare time, I volunteer and run a national recording scheme on carrion beetles, because carrion beetles are my absolute favourite. So I can often be found doing kind of gross little projects, putting out dead mice and trapping beetles. And yeah, hopefully we can chat more about carrion beetles today, Graeme.
Oh yes. Yeah. So yeah, because actually that's one of the reasons why I've got you on, because a couple of weeks ago on My Wildlife Year, I did a wee review of this book, which has never been that far. I have to, and I'm not sort of saying this just because you're here, that it's not been very far away from me, because it's such a lovely book and it's a lovely read as well. And although I'm not an entomologist, I come across carrion beetles. I've always come across carrion beetles because I do a lot of live trapping. I think because we put dog food in the traps, that maybe attracts the carrion beetles in. So carrion beetles quite often turn up in mammal traps. And I just got into moth trapping last year, and I've had at least one carrion beetle that asked you just to ID, confirm the ID for me. So I'm hoping that I'll get a few more of them this year.
Right, so here we have the camera trap still in place. I'll just unlock the python cable, unlock this one, pop the trap out and see what's in the SD card, if anything. So let's get on with my wildlife year, week 9. I was out last weekend with my wife and Dexter, having a little walk, and I saw my first bee. I got very excited. It was a honeybee on some snowdrops, and it was flying around, and I thought, oh, I've got to get this on camera. So you might wonder why I'm taking photos of it rather than recording a bit to video. Well, the reason for that is I did attempt this, but I was so excited, obviously never pressed play and record when I tried to record my bit, and I ended up pressing record after I'd recorded the bit on camera and then walked off. So here's what I actually recorded. Not my finest hour. A couple of days ago, I got a lovely surprise in the post. A little parcel came, and I wasn't sure who it was from because I didn't recognise the handwriting, and my 50th birthday's coming up, so there's a bit of debate, do I open it or don't I? So we played it safe, got my wife to open it, and she handed it to me and says, no, you can open it just now. So I opened it up, lovely little note inside along with this hand-painted sexton beetle. It is gorgeous. This photo here doesn't do it justice at all. It's by someone that lives here in the Borders, Susan Bourne, and I would say she's a talented artist, really great. Is really into her wildlife as well. If you've got the chance, find her on Instagram or Facebook. Just search for @the_farmhouse and give her a follow. You won't be disappointed. And thanks again, Susan. This is gorgeous, and I still haven't found the right place for it yet because I want it somewhere where people will see it and will say, oh, what's that? And I can then talk to them about sexton beetles and carrion beetles and what they do, and just champion them. So thank you again. I'm really moved. Right, well, this week I've also been putting out my trail cams, just checking if they're working. I've got a couple more. I was able to get a couple extra than I'd planned from my crowdfunder and fundraising, so I've actually got 4 that I can lend out to people in the community rather than just 2. So I've been trying them out, and look what turned up in my garden. I've put the cameras out, and I had them out last weekend. I got them back in, and on Sunday found some really interesting footage which we'll just have a look at now. Well, it's Monday. It's a bit dreary outside. I've just had a call to go along to the school about an injured bird. To tell you the truth, I was actually expecting it to be a fledgling, but it is actually a injured blue tit. It was found on its back, and I actually thought it was dead, but then it was moving, so sat it upright, but it seems to have an issue with its leg. So I'm just going to transfer it over to a cage and give it a once over and see what's wrong with it. So here it is. There it is in there. So put that little one. Take it down in my hand. Put it in here. Seemingly it had something wrong with one of its legs, but it's looking okay at the moment. But once it goes down, I've got some water and some food in there for it. I've also got some live food if it wants it. A few mealworms, live mealworms, got some dried mealworms, and also some crushed peanuts. But I'll just leave it to settle somewhere nice and quiet and dark so that I can assess it properly without stressing it too much. I've assessed it and it's fine. I think it might just have actually been a collision with a window. It might have hurt itself, but it's moving about fine. Its legs are working fine, so hopefully it's able to fly okay. I'm just going to take it for release. I put it in this little container here. I'll just close the door over. This little container here. I'll take it for release. Right, so I've got the blue tit here, just come up to the school, so I'm going to release it. Hopefully going to fly. There we go. Excellent. Flying away. Brilliant. Right, so I'm heading back to the school again today. This time not for a blue tit, but an injured oyster catcher. So take it into care, give it an assessment, and see if I need to call anyone else about it, or if it's just needing some rest and recuperation. Go in and see. Well, I've picked it up. It's a young one. I've been told it's injured, so I'm just going to take it to assess it and just see, to take it home, because I obviously can't do that at the school, especially under current restrictions. I don't want to stay in the school for any longer than I have to, and so I'll take it home, give it a once over, and 3 things are going to happen. One is, if it's just needing a wee bit of care, I'll keep it at home. If it's actually okay, I'll see if I can actually get it back. It'll have been nesting up in the roof and just fallen off. Get it back up there, because seemingly mum is making a wee bit of a noise. Or third option is, if it's actually, injured in some way and it's out with my area of expertise, let's just try to get out the box at the minute, then I'll take it I'll take it to a rescue centre, or get a rescue centre to come and collect it. So we'll just see when I get it back. Right, well, I've assessed it and the chick's fine, so I've no mum's still along there calling, so I've got a ladder set up, so I'm just going to take the chick back and take it up on the roof and get it back reunited with mum. As you can see, it's quite lively. One of the reasons it was actually taken into care by one of the cleaners at the school was because it was on the ground and there was crows and rooks and jackdaws and that attacking it, some of the local corvids. So, but it's, as you can see, walking about fine, so I'm going to take it to the school for release. I'm just coming up to the school. I have to put my my mask on in a second, but I'm just looking for Mum. She was in the roof of the school earlier, and also the roof of one of the buildings close by, so don't see her at the minute. Hopefully once the little wind goes up, she'll come and find it. That's one of the parents across there. We've got, up on the thing, we've got someone calling over in that direction. Another one up in that. Try to see whether that's an adult. There's Mum or Dad there. And there's, it's actually Mum and Dad are there. That's another young one over there. So, in there. So we'll pop this one here and off it goes to its brother or sister. So there's others. Mum and Dad are still flying around. Now I've got to go across this gully that's full of water to try and get back down the ladders. But brother and sister, or brothers or sisters, they're both up there. And there we might have seen why it's ended up off the roof. Don't know whether you saw it skid there. Hi and welcome to My Wildlife Year, week 21. I'm not quite as enthusiastic this week, basically because on Monday morning my mum passed away, so it's not been the greatest of weeks, to be honest. I've been spending most of the time this week through here in Hamilton at my parents' house, so I wasn't going to not do a video. I made a decision I'm going to do a video, and I'm dedicating it this week to my mum, because a lot of my love for wildlife comes from my mum. She used to teach me about what different birds were and what different flowers were when I was a wee kid, and I just basically I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for her really getting me enthused about wildlife and such. So I've come outside, I've got my bat detector. I don't know why, but I chucked my bat detector in my bag when I was packing, just because it's a bit of comfort. And I saw some bats flying around above my parents' house last night, so I'm out this evening and there's one there. Listen to that. So just as I mentioned bats, one flies across. That was very loud at 45, so that's actually a common pipistrelle. So let's see, hopefully maybe one or two more will come across. One flying just over there, it's just a bit out of range of the bat detector. Oh, there it comes. It's a common pipistrelle. So just like to say again that I'm dedicating this week to my mum, who died earlier this week, and it was a great inspiration to me and set me off, and basically my love of wildlife that stayed with me all my life. Well, I've been hoping for some fox action close up on my trail cam, and last night I put out some fruitcake as bait for them, to give them something to eat, and I managed to get some nice fox footage. Have a look at this. Right, through in Hamilton, visit my dad, and I decided to bring my moth trap with me. It's means operated, but underneath that plastic box there, I've got a battery and an inverter, which allows me to run the trap without having to run a lead all the way into the house here. So, interesting to see what I get. Through sort of like more west coast, Scotland, close to the west coast, and down the rural southeast borders, sort of in a urban area further west in Scotland in the central belt. Might get something a bit different. Wait and see. I wasn't sure whether I was going to get much in the moth trap, but judging by the amount I've just seen flying about, and if actually, even as I took the light out, a couple flew off. So it looks like I've got a few in here. Right, I'm emptying the moth trap. I've got quite a few already. Those are all the macro moths, and these are the micro moths. And that one there, I don't know what it is. I recognise it. I've never had it before, but I recognise it from the books. I just can't remember what it's called. So I've got at least one new species for me. So I've emptied the trap, and there are all empty ones over here, but here it's all macro moths in the tray. So we've got 18 small tubs, and as you can see there's a big tub which has a poplar hawk moth in it, and also 9 smaller ones. A couple in here, I'm not sure whether they're really small micro moths or whether they're really small macro moths or whether they're big micro moths. Well, I've done a count of all my moths, and I've got 16 species in total. I think 5 is the most I've got of any particular one, but you know, that's a good tally, especially for quite an urban area like this. So I'm really chuffed, and here's just some of the highlights. This is quite a delicate moth. We had it last week. It's called the Ribbons Wave, and it's a very nice one indeed. And there's what it looks like underneath. This is another one that we had last week. This is the Willow Beauty, and I can tell it's a Willow Beauty because it's just fallen off there, and now it's not going to let me see. There's a little light square just at the corner of the thing there. Let's just see if I can. Nope, he's not wanting to play. Ah, there we go. You see the little square just there at the tip of the wing. That tells me it's a Willow Beauty. Now here I've got 5 of these guys. These are large yellow underwings. They're quite variable. The colours can be quite variable, and some bits are darker than others and that, but they all sort of have these dark bits just down here, and they're also very big. I mean, that's my thumb. My thumb's not exactly small. It's pretty sizable. And another one that we had last week is the poplar hawk moth. So a real gorgeous moth, just nice and big and chunky. And the last 2 I'm really pleased with. This one is very small and is right up the top, so you can't see it very well. It's called Straw Dot, and I'm actually going to take, oh no, it's moving around now. Is it going to settle? Yes, there it is. It's a Straw Dot. It's quite a small one, and it's a first for me. So I'm really chuffed to have this one. So Straw Dot was the first one, but it's not my only first. There is this absolutely beauty. Oh, it's the Buff Arches, and it is amazing. I mean, just look at it. It is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, oh, I think I've got another moth to add to my favourites. This is just, oops, sorry, you've fallen over. It is just absolutely wonderful. Oh. Right, so I'm not going to keep them any longer. So I'm going to empty all my traps, all my tubs, and let them all go. And I'm really pleased I brought my moth trap through to Hamilton. I'm just releasing the buff arches. It really is a beautiful moth. So we'll just pop it in there. There it goes into the hedgerow. Here we go. There's a lovely poplar hog moth. Remember the buff arches that I said was a first for me, and it was a gorgeous moth? Well, it wasn't the only first. It was also the first record of buff arches in Lanarkshire. When I checked online on the NBN Atlas, there didn't seem to be very many records at all for Scotland, but certainly none in this area. So I contacted the Vice County Recorder for the area, for Lanarkshire, which is VC 77. That's Vice County 77. Richard Weddell, who I already knew, I've worked with in the past, and I dropped him a line saying, not waiting for my records to get to you through the normal channel, here's a buff arches. Don't know whether it's a sort of like you've got any other records for the Vice County, and he came back this morning saying no, he hasn't. So this is where Vice County Recorders really come into their own. A lot of species groups such as butterflies, moths and mammals have Vice County Recorders that they verify all the records that come in for their area, but also they can be contacted and you can run queries past them, such as this, and they can either confirm that yes, you've got what you think, or no, they haven't, or if it's a first for the area. So I'm really excited, and so is my dad as well. It's in his garden. The first buff arches moth recorded in Lanarkshire was in this very garden. Right, I've just brought my daughter and my friend down through there to Gwape, Glentrest Forest near Peebles, to go on this sort of treetop adventure thing, and because I've got to wait in them, I've parked up the car and got my little survey bag out, my stick, and heading off to see what wildlife I can find. You can see the bit that I've just walked up behind. Trees are so close together, there's hardly any ground flora there at all. But this bit here, between this and the next bit of trees, there's quite a lot, because it's open. And the reason it's open, I don't know whether you can see here, is because of the electric cable that's running, or cables that are running right down. Not sure if you can actually see them there. Yeah, just about above me. So gap's been left just so that the trees don't go in amongst it. And the other thing we've got is paths running down, so I don't know whether this path will lead anywhere, but let's go and see. Well, I know it's definitely animal, because look, it goes under there. Now, unless humans are crawling in the hands and feet, hands and knees rather, that is not human that's made that path that's come down there. So there's something here. I would suggest probably badger around here. It does look as if there's been a wee bit of digging, just to snuffle holes in there too. This is round the other side of the branches. You can see it comes back out and goes back under there. Bit more evidence of badger here. You can see some snuffle holes here and here that have been digging. The track, I followed it back, but is back down. It was actually going back down to where I'd come from, so I'm going to go back up the way and see what's up the hill rather than down the hill, because that's exactly where I've come from. Right, I'm following it that way, but if you look here, it goes under that. You can actually see that's quite low, that trunk that's there, so whatever it is very low, which makes me think badger. Follows along here, and then it actually splits into two, so I would think it makes sense that they're living along that way and coming here and then splitting off to go forage in different places. But I'll follow it back and see. There's the track going along there, and that's the trunk that I showed you, and this trunk's obviously been here for a while. This side is quite rough, but see, once I put my hand under there, it's worn smooth. So I'm just going to see whether there's any hairs in this lot. I don't see any. Some nice badger guard here would have been really good to confirm this is badgers using this. But they don't always leave guard hairs behind, so let's go. Well, I've come out here in the Glentress to get a wee bit of exercise as well as to look at wildlife, but I haven't actually got that much exercise. I've been following this path and that I haven't actually went very far. That's just a car park just down there, but it doesn't really matter. I'm getting a bit of exercise and I'm finding some interesting wildlife. Here we've got an old latrine pit, bit of badger poo in there, and yes, I was sniffing my hands. This one looks the same. Yeah, some poo in there. So definitely going the right way to find badgers. That looks quite fresh there. You can see there are actually flies on that poo. And there's another one there. So definitely badgers that have been making this track. This here could very well be an old outlier set, just a single entrance. It's broader than it is high, which makes me think it's badger rather than fox. Fox would be higher than it is broad, usually, but they don't always make them as they say in the books, but also foxes have been known to use badger sets. So I'll keep going and see if I can find an active set. I've crossed this cycle path behind me, the mountain bike path sort of comes across it, but I'm struggling to see a definitive path here, but I'll give it a go and see what I can find. Right, well, I've followed the path back and I've got to this wall here. Badgers are quite good climbers, so I could easily go over that. And there is certainly evidence that they've been going in this direction. That's gorse on the other side. I'm not going in that, sorry, not even for my wildlife here. But yes, so there could actually be a badger set in there, fairly safe from disturbance from humans, because unless you went in there with a chainsaw or a brush cutter, you ain't going to get anything other than prickled. So yes, I'm giving up looking for the badger set. During this week I made a decision to do a Facebook Live bat walk. A bit crazy. I'd never done a live before, Instagram Live or Facebook Live. I'd seen a few but never done one myself, but I decided I'd just take the plunge and advertised it on Facebook, and it seemed to go quite well. And here's just a short clip of it. Now, I don't know whether you heard that little buzz there, little electronic buzz. I just describe it as a electronic fart. There is another one there. That was sort of noise, electronic sort of little raspberry. There's one there, and that's called a feeding buzz. So these general clicks are the echolocation, but the feeding buzz is them going in to overdrive. The other thing is, it's like you actually normally, you can sometimes, if the bats Yes, they are really nicely healed up, our wings. So that's actually really good news. So there's no reason why this little one should not be flying. So she's not happy at all, but you can see she's not very big. So I'm going to pop her. She's starting to flap a bit. I don't want her, if she is going to fly, I don't want her flying around my office. Much to my wife's, I'll take this off now, much to my wife's sort of, not disgust, she's not disgusted, it's just, she's just more perturbed that I let bats fly around the living room, and I've actually started using the dining room now. So yes, so she's still not flying, but I want to give her when she does a test flight, a couple of test flights, and if she actually flies, then she will be taken back to her release site in Selkirk. I've had Chonky in care for quite a few weeks now. She was catted, so she had holes in her wings which have healed up nicely, and she also had a broken finger which seems to have healed nicely, but she's still not flying. I think she might have a sort of shoulder injury or a collarbone injury, clavicle injury, so got to keep her over winter and try and release her. Trail cam's just behind me, so let's go and see, get it in, and I'll take it home and see what I've got. If anything, of course, you have to be ready for disappointment when you're using trail cams. Yes, so through here, this bit here, in the garage, it's a workshop through there, is a wildlife rescue area. I had some equipment, but I was really struggling because I've been hit hard with my income's been hit quite hard with COVID, and I put out a wish list for Amazon, and a lot of people did buy some stuff from it. I was really blown away by how how generous people were. So I've got things like dog, cats and cat carriers down there. That big dog cage, for instance, there has had crow, rook, buzzard, in fact 2 buzzards, and I can't think what else in it. I think it had a gull in it as one point as well. One of the cat carriers there has had a oyster catcher in it, which I had to take up onto the school roof to release. And that in there, Chonky the bat is in there. Chonky will feature in my video as well. Yeah, I've started doing little sort of compilations of birds that have turned up on the Wi-Fi wildlife cam in the back garden, so there'll be sort of a couple of them throughout the video. So in fact we'll just start off with one of them just now. I've just received this in the post. The craft fair that I took part in as one of the wildlife specialists in November. It was run by Jane from Beneath the Badger Tree. She does some wonderful craft stuff, and she just sent me this little gorgeous bat. I am so over the moon. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Right,
I've just discovered another hibernating, or butterfly rather than ex-hibernating butterfly. It's been roused, but this one isn't a small tortoiseshell. It's a peacock. So I'll just go and get a tub and pop it in it. Take it out to one of the buildings. Right, so got the tub. Try and there it is. Look at that. Look at that. Gorgeous. It's now managed to fly away. I'll get it in the tub. There we go. Look at that. It's lovely. Lovely bright colours, and you can see why it gets its name of peacock. Right, so that out of the way. Here's the peacock butterfly released. Those colours are just stunning in this light. Gosh. It looks like I'm finishing off my wildlife here, kind of how I started it. Looking at this trap. This is the trap I recommended. Oh! It's not a wood mouse that's in it, it's a bankful. Wow, I've been having how many wood mice in the past few weeks, and suddenly it's a bankful. There you go. Dexter's taking quite an interest. So, there's a little bankful, short tail, small eyes, and less distinct ears. Give it away as a vole. So, get it out and see whether it's a male or a female. There it's tipped out, and try to get out the bag, so I'll just lift him or her out and sex her, or him. And it's a her. There we go. Right. You're out the house, sorry. So yes, so I'm really looking forward to my wildlife year 2022. It's going to be a bit different, and I'd really like to thank everyone that's sort of like, you know, watched my wildlife year throughout 2021. I know that there's, you know, I've not got a huge audience, but I know there is a few folk out there that do watch it, so I really appreciate you. And I never did this for big audiences. I did this as a bit of a challenge to myself, and also just to take myself out my comfort zone. So I've done that, and I've looked back at a few of my wildlife years, and I think my presentation skills have gotten a bit better. I still do sort of lose my place occasionally, and mix my words up, and and ah, but I'm not a professional presenter, so that's just how it is. But I hope you've enjoyed my wildlife year week 1 to week 52 in 2021. I look forward to seeing you in 2022. Well, I hope you enjoyed that review of my wildlife year 2021. It'll be a new video, completely new video next week for week 2 of my wildlife year 2022. Until then, stay safe and keep enjoying the wildlife. See you then.